Welcome back to my Hytale world. Thank you guys for joining me today. Today we have a lot of exciting stuff going on. We explore the desert biome for the first time. Not only that, but we also get our farming going. We aim to have our farmer's workbench to the max tier possible by the end of this episode. And yeah, I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. So sit down, relax, and enjoy the ride. And yeah, let's get right into it. So starting off, we put our bow to use, getting some practice reps in with the bow. Taking out one of these void crawlers or whatever they're called. Yeah, and as we're doing that, I just wanted to thank you guys for some of the suggestions. In a future episode, I want to do some terraforming around the pyramid, as well as add in some more details to the exterior of the pyramid. I already had a couple suggestions. One comment mentioned I should add in some yellow or gold-colored accents to the pyramid. I think that would look really good, so might be something I do in a future episode here. But yeah, please keep leaving comments. Let me know what you'd like to see in the future, and we'll make it happen. But yeah, after we take out the skeleton there, we come back inside and we start making a layout for our first farm. And of course I misplaced a block, but as you can see, here's the layout where we're going to build our farm. And then we're going to build one the same way on the other side. And of course I misplaced a block on the other side as well, but that's okay. And then we start placing in the dirt, leaving a gap every second block. The way farming works in this game is you need to have water parallel with every dirt block in order for the dirt to stay hydrated and your crops to grow as fast as possible. Another nice thing about this game is, just like in Minecraft, you can actually put lanterns underwater. So I'm going to be using lanterns inside of the water channels as my lighting. But speaking of water, it's time to make some buckets. I don't have any, so I craft up as many as I can, head over to the ocean, and dive right in. Now this part was super tedious. Unlike Minecraft, there's no way to create infinite water sources in Hytale, so what I had to do is I had to run back to the ocean each time, jump in, grab about 12 buckets or so worth of water, run all the way back, put them down. Now you could use running water, but I didn't want to do that because I didn't want to have the noise of running water in my pyramid all the time, so I just wanted source blocks for every block of water. But as you can see, there were lots and lots of trips to the ocean. And by this point, the sun starts to go down. I love the way the moonlight reflects off the water there. It looks super sharp. Alright, and after that final last trip, we finally had enough water to finish off the farms. So yeah, this is what they're looking like. Each row is 25 blocks long, so nice kind of number to work with. That means each farm holds a total of 200 crops, together a total of 400 crops, so yeah, lots of space to get some farming going. So of course, next up we till some of the land and get to work planting our first seeds. We start off with some lettuce and some wheat, as those are the only seeds available to you when your farmer's workbench is only tier 1. I then crafted some iron pants to round out my armor and make sure I have a full set, as I hadn't crafted one last episode. I also finished upgrading the rest of my tools to iron, including my axe and my crossbow there. And as you can see, the crops are already starting to grow. And as I'm waiting for them to finish growing, I decide I'm going to go explore the desert. So off we go, swimming through the ocean to get there. And I was not expecting this, but there are whales in this game, which is really cool to see. Of course, I had to try and take one out, so that's exactly what I do. But unfortunately, the ocean is so deep that I had no way of collecting the loot that the whale dropped without dying. If I went all the way down and collected that, I definitely would have died. As you guys will see here, I actually almost died anyways, not even going all the way down. And there's some arrows glitched out at the top of the ocean for some reason, but I kind of use that to mark out where the surface is. And yeah, I almost died from that. So hopefully they add some sort of breathing potion or scuba gear or something in the future. I think I heard they are, which is going to be awesome. But we finally make it over to the desert area. I chop down a palm tree and get some coconuts. I then find this massive, super thick looking tree, and of course, you know, we are going to have to harvest that. Can never have too many logs in this game, that's for sure. And how satisfying is that? Oh my god. And that one tree, over 200 logs, which is crazy. We then found a new variation of skeleton, and obviously we had to finish him off. And then a saber-toothed tiger, which I thought those were normally found in cold regions, not in deserts, but either way, we'll take him out and grab the resources off his body. Then finish off a flamingo. And we find some thorium. Above ground, actually. Surface level thorium, which is awesome. Thorium is the ore that is one tier after iron, so we're definitely going to be needing a lot of it. After that, we come across a scorpion. Have to kill him, see what he drops. And just like a spider or a snake, it drops a venom sac. Then we find another variation of a desert skeleton and take it out. And then we get attacked by a hyena. And of course finish the hyena off as well. Then I found this absolutely massive tree. I've never seen a tree this big. This thing was absolutely insane. Even just taking out the one layer took a lot of time, but it was well worth it. Look how many logs that is. It's absolutely insane. It's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of logs. So with our inventory full of logs, we head back, but on the way we found a jellyfish-looking creature. I believe it was called a manowar. So we took that out, and by the time we got home, our crops were ready to harvest, so we harvested our first set of crops for the farming episode here. After that, I was able to upgrade our farmer's workbench to tier 2. And now I'm able to craft seeds for carrots as well as corn. But I didn't have too much Essence of Life yet, and if you didn't know, you use Essence of Life to craft seeds, so I planted more lettuce in order to get more Essence of Life. Every time you harvest a crop in this game, it gives you Essence of Life. I then built a chef's stove and started crafting up some meat skewers as a new food source. I then converted all my lettuce into extra Essence of Life, and then used that Essence of Life to make some corn seeds and planted those down right away. At this point I realized I had collected 42 memories and you're only able to hold 48 at a time, so it was time to go back to the Forgotten Temple to redeem my memories. But on the way, of course, we got interrupted by some skeletons, so we taught him a lesson, and then we stole a horse and used him for quick transport. Couple more skeletons once we actually got to the Forgotten Temple. They just seem to be everywhere in this game. And then we took out the Earth Golem. I guess he respawns every time. So we head through the portal and go to the Forgotten Temple for the second time this playthrough. And it is just as impressive as I remembered it from our last episode. I turn in all of my memories, and I had a couple new unlocks, including 3 more decorative chests, 4 additional eternal seeds, and 1 more maximum teleport. And then again I got 3 more decorative chests, another 4 eternal seeds, and again another teleporter. So after a successful trip, we head back to our pyramid. I then create a salvager's workbench. This allows you to salvage tools that are broken or that you don't use anymore, and get some useful items back out of them. I was actually able to get iron ore and light hide out of some of these, which was really, really useful. And while we were waiting for our crops to grow, we decided to do a little bit of exploring, taking out a couple snakes. I then stabbed this mosshorn to death. And this bear tried to attack me, but by this point he was no match for our iron tools and weapons and armor. Then took out this fen stalker. And another one. Another bear. And then we chopped down an azure tree. The other thing about upgrading your farmer's workbench is that they also, not only does it require crops to upgrade its tier, but it also requires different types of logs. So I was just collecting every type of log I ran into while exploring. And then I realized you could actually drop torches down into caves and they would stay lit and light up the surrounding area. I thought that was really cool. And then we made it over to the desert for a second time. And we found some warthogs, which was a new mob, so we took them out. I was hoping they would drop light hide, but of course they dropped medium hide. Then this flying insect kept shooting poison balls at us, but luckily we were able to take him out. He did a pretty good chunk of our health, though. He was a pretty feisty guy. But yeah, continue exploring the desert, found some iron and grabbed that. Then we grabbed some copper as well. And then I spotted a cobra for the very first time this playthrough. After taking out the cobra, we took out the rat. Of course, we need its light hide. And then I found this massive insect in the middle of a cave. I was pretty worried. It looked like it was going to be pretty tough, but it actually only took 3 hits, almost only 2 hits to kill, so not too bad at all, and it dropped some chitin for us. And then found these ruins deep in the cave. So of course I jumped in to see what was going on and ran into this like skeleton mage. I guess a skeleton archmage is his official name. So we took out him as well as his buddy over here. Grabbed some loot from a chest. And then continued exploring the cave. And we actually found some thorium, which is the main reason we were in the desert, was to try and get as much thorium as possible. And luckily we were able to find even more thorium not long after. And I pillar all the way up to the surface. Really nice being able to vault over the 3 and 4 block heights there. Definitely makes things a lot easier as we take out another saber-tooth. And a couple of hyenas try and think that they're going to be able to take me down. They were definitely mistaken. Take out a skeleton. And his friend isn't far behind him, so we may as well take him out as well. You do need a lot of linen in this game, so it's always worth taking out the skeletons whenever you run across them. Found another saber-tooth. And then, yeah, we got this really cool view of our pyramid from a bit of a cliffside from far away. So, yeah, it was a pretty cool view. I enjoyed that. So we finally get back to our pyramid, and our crops are again ready to harvest, so we harvest up our lettuce as well as our corn. And then we craft as many carrot seeds as we can and plant those down, as we're going to need carrots in order to upgrade our farmer's workbench to the next tier. And the way the crops grow in this game is the same order you place them. Unfortunately, at this point, I didn't have enough lanterns, so you'll see that a couple of the spots are a little bit slower than the rest, but that's okay. We fix it right now by placing in some more lanterns. I then craft 10 repair kits, so I don't have to worry about any tools breaking down in the future. And then we do some more exploring as we wait for our next set of crops to grow. Taking out a spider and then making our way to the Trork camp. The reason I came here is because I am running low on linen, like I was mentioning earlier, and the Trorks, just like skeletons, also drop linen. But yeah, they kept spawning in a bunch of wolves, so we had to take the wolves out. Take the Trork out. And then there's one final Trork that actually almost killed me. It got a little dicey at the end here, but luckily we escaped with just barely any health left. And then we made our way back over the ocean again, and on the way we found a hammerhead shark. So I thought this guy would be aggressive. I thought it would be a bit more of a fight, but it wasn't. He just kind of chilled and let me shoot him to death. So again, I was not able to get the loot he dropped because it was so far down, but what can you do? And then we found some maple trees, and I knew I was going to need some maple logs in the future for a future farmer's workbench upgrade, so I grabbed as many maple logs as I could. Found a new skeleton variation, the skeleton archer, took him out. And of course another skeleton. This ended up being a pretty big fight. There were two skeletons, a hyena, everything kind of all converged in on me at once. But yeah, we just kind of kept chipping away at their health, and eventually we were able to kill them all. Then I found some surface level thorium, which is always a nice little surprise. But as I was trying to collect the thorium, I was getting shot by one of those poison-shooting insects. I figured I had enough time and could just run away after. But this thing followed me forever, as you can see here. So I keep running, trying to eat some food as I'm doing so. But unfortunately, yeah, he just kept chasing me down and ended up killing me. So that kind of sucked, but wasn't too much of an issue. As you'll see here, we kind of speed run our way back to where we died. Spotted tortoise for the first time on the way back. Just running by any mobs, as obviously I don't have my armor or my weapons at this point. And luckily we were able to make it back to our stuff without much problem. I then found a camel for the first time. Obviously, you know, first time finding a new animal, you have to kill him to see what he drops. And in this case, it actually dropped light hide, which I was pretty surprised by. I figured a camel would drop at least medium or maybe even heavy hide. And then we had to take out a saber tooth. He was mad at us for killing his meal. He wanted to eat that camel for himself, and we stole it from him, so we had to steal his life too. I then found a settlement of these little Farron Longtooth dudes. For a sec I thought maybe they were friendly because nobody seemed to be attacking me, but then this guy ran up and hit me and ran away. So I had to kill him as retribution, but that seemed to piss off everybody else, and now all of a sudden I was having spears thrown at me by the entire fleet of them. So yeah, I tried to run away, but they kept kind of hitting me a little bit. So I figured, you know what, let's just go kill them. And that was a big mistake. Within 2 seconds I was dead. So yeah, second death of the episode now, and again we were able to find our way back. But not without some trouble. I climbed over a cliff and was immediately attacked by a hyena, but was able to run away and get back to our stuff in the end. And since we were in the desert anyway, I figured I'd go into a cave and see if we could grab a bunch of thorium. And lucky enough, I was able to find quite a few veins. We ended up getting quite deep inside of this cave. As you can see, all the blocks are starting to turn red, and it's beginning to look almost like the Nether from Minecraft a bit. And yeah, it kind of looked dangerous, and I guess that's for good reason. As we lose a thorium piece, I didn't want to jump down there and risk my life, as I had a lot of good stuff on us. But yeah, it was pretty dangerous down here. I ran into this skeleton that was casting magic at us. Looks pretty evil. So we had to kill this guy, and right as I turn around, there's a goblin swinging his mace at us. So I had to quickly take him out. And then there's some more mobs in the background there, and I was getting a little bit nervous, so kind of retreated and went a little bit higher up in the cave, and was able to find some more thorium in the higher levels again. And even more thorium. And yeah, at this point the thorium veins were popping up all over. It was awesome. We were collecting a lot of it. But after our inventory filled up, we decided to tunnel up to the surface. Of course, there was one of those insects waiting for us, so we ran away from him and eventually returned home. Back at home, our crops had grown, so we collected our carrots. And with that, we had enough resources to upgrade our farmer's workbench to tier 3. Now we were able to craft turnips as well as cauliflower. So we made some turnip and cauliflower seeds. And of course we planted those down right away. And yeah, you can see with our lights now, everything was growing at the same rate. And again, it grows in the exact order you place them down, kind of satisfying to watch. But after a little bit of waiting, they were ready to harvest, so we harvested them back up. And right away, I was able to upgrade our farmer's workbench from tier 3 to tier 4. Now we were able to plant aubergines and pumpkins. So of course we got that going immediately after. The farming in this game is really satisfying. I like how there's so many more crops than Minecraft, and I think it just looks a little bit better. The plants kind of sway in the wind a little bit. It looks really sharp. But after we got the seeds planted, we walled off the back part of our pyramid for future plans to hold mobs back here. So yeah, that's kind of what it looked like once I put in those fences. And then we went and took out a cow. And then we ran into this skeleton camp, and I'll kind of fast forward as we take out every skeleton and loot everything inside of here. There wasn't too much crazy for loot. It was nice getting a bunch of linen from taking out all the skeletons, but other than that, nothing super crazy. I did find a nice bed that I stole and used to replace the current little sleep sack we had on the ground at home. And here's that bed I mentioned. Grabbed that real quick. And yeah, that was pretty much it. Of course, as soon as we exit the camp there, the skeleton camp, there's a bear waiting for us ready to attack, so we have to teach him a lesson to leave us alone. And I found another entrance to the Forgotten Temple, so I wanted to see, you know, if this one was any different. It wasn't, but, you know, while here, when in Rome, we may as well go turn in whatever memories we have at the moment. So, back to the Forgotten Temple we go. And we turn in our memories. We had 34 more to turn in. Back at home, our crops had grown, so we harvest some wheat, pumpkins, and the aubergine plants that we had planted before. And that was enough to allow us to upgrade to a tier 5 workbench. Now we were able to plant tomatoes and peppers. Or sorry, I guess they're chilies, not peppers. But yeah, we grabbed some tomato and pepper seeds, as well as make some chicken coops and capture crates. I also planted down some lettuce, as I found it was a good source of getting some extra essence of life. I then placed in our chicken coops. I had also crafted a apple tree sapling from our farmer's workbench and placed that down. Of course, we wanted to make sure it had plenty of lighting so it would grow as fast as possible. And then we went exploring to try and find some chickens to bring back to our pyramid so we could get some eggs going. So I stole a horse. Eventually I was able to find a couple of chickens, and then you just left click on them with the capture crate and it puts them in the crate for you. So after capturing a pair, we hop back on our horse and head back. And now that we have this chicken coop in the back, I can also put my horses back here. They are not able to jump over those walls that I had built. So yeah, I can kind of like keep them contained back here, as they do try and run away every time you get off the horse. After that, I placed our chickens in. And then I got to work harvesting the lettuce that had grown now. I then made some more tomato and chili seeds. And of course planted those down right away. I then hopped back on the horse to try and find some more chickens. And luckily we found 2 more. It did take a while to find the chickens. Like, I'm just cutting to clips of where I actually found them, but there was probably a solid 5-10 minutes of running around trying to find these things. They were not spawning very often in my world. But yeah, now that we had one of our farms fully planted, I wanted to kind of give a view from above, and this one was getting there too. We almost had enough Essence of Life that we were able to get enough crops to fill up both farms. But after a hard day's work, we head to bed, and yeah, wake up the next morning, and the crops had been fully grown, and our apple tree was actually starting to grow already as well, which was cool to see. So we go ahead and harvest all of our chilies and tomatoes. And after harvesting them, I realized that I need cedar logs in order to upgrade the farmer's workbench to tier 6. So off towards the frozen, snowy kind of area of the map I go, as I figured that's where we would find the cedar logs. And on the way we found some more chickens, so of course we're going to pick those up. And yeah, you can see in the distance there, the snow-capped mountains are starting to come into frame, so... We then reach the Frostmarch Tundra. Find a new variant of skeleton right away, a skeleton scout. Wasn't much of a problem. I then found our first tree, hoping it was going to be cedar. Unfortunately, it was just a fir tree, not a cedar tree, so not the logs we're looking for, but we'll take it anyway. And then I found some cobalt, which is the ore that comes after thorium. Luckily, I was still able to mine it with our iron pick, so I figured may as well grab it. I really like the look of the slate cobble, too, so collected a little bit of that while we were here. But yeah, found another skeleton, easily took him out. And as I turn around, I notice even more cobalt, so we go and grab that. And like I said, I really like the look of this slate cobble, so we grabbed a couple extra pieces of that while we were here. And then I found a new tree variant. I was really hoping this was going to be the cedar trees we were looking for, but unfortunately they were redwood trees. But that's okay. We're always needing logs in this game, so I'd figured, you know, may as well chop down the tree. And these redwood trees were really big. They dropped a lot of logs. Not quite as many as the trees in the desert there, but still quite a bit. And then we found another tree variant, and this one was cedar, which was awesome. Exactly what we were looking for. So we grabbed a couple of the cedar trees as well. Just watching those logs fall is never going to get old for me. And while we were here, we did some exploring, and I was able to find a couple meese. So we took down one of the meese. And we grabbed a pine cone. Found some more cobalt, which of course we're going to grab. And then I stumbled across this white wolf. Made quick work of him, and found even more cobalt. I then stumbled across this absolutely massive vein of silver. At this point I haven't really had to use any silver yet, but I know it's going to be something we need in the future, so I grab all of it. And then I make our way back to our horse and start heading home. And on the way home I cross this river as the sun's going down, and yeah, look how beautiful this game is at times. The lighting in this game is just awesome. So we make it back to our pyramid. We are now able to upgrade to a tier 6 farmer's workbench with those cedar logs we had grabbed. And now we're able to make cotton and rice seeds. So I make a bunch of cotton and rice seeds. We place in our chickens. And we get to work placing those seeds. And as you can see, our crops are starting to grow. The rice looks awfully like wheat. I think it's actually the exact same look as wheat. I'm not sure why that's the case, but... and yeah, our first 6 eggs were ready, so we grabbed those as well. At this point, our apple tree is starting to sprout some apples, but they're not ripe enough to pick yet. And I didn't want the wolves stealing our apples, so we had to finish them off. We then make our way back to the desert. I take out a tortoise to see what it drops. It drops chitin as well as some raw wild meat. And shortly after, we take out this scorpion. I know we're going to need venom sacs for future upgrades, so it's always worth taking out anything that drops a venom sac. And at this point, I'm looking for dry wood, because we need that for our next tier of upgrade for our farmer's workbench. So I was hoping this would be dry wood. It was my first attempt at finding dry wood. And yeah, it was. It was a dry log that dropped from this tree, so it was perfect. So we took out a couple more of these trees, and in doing so ran across a couple skeletons that we had to take out, as well as a saber-toothed tiger here. And then, yeah, we continued to chop down some of these dry log trees. And once we got back to our pyramid, our rice was ready to harvest, so we harvested the rice, as well as the cotton. And now we were able to upgrade from tier 6 to tier 7. Next up, we are going to need some onions and potatoes. So we started planting in some onion buds. And then we planted some potato buds as well. And then we planted some lettuce to fill in our second farm, as we had some extra essence of life. And finally, our first set of apples had grown, so we grabbed those apples. And killed a rabbit. The need for light hide is definitely endless, so anytime you find an animal that drops it, you're going to want to take it out. But yeah, after killing the rabbit, we stumble across a Quebec camp where we're able to trade. So that's exactly what I did. I was able to trade this guy for a Caesar salad recipe. We also grabbed 3 berry bushes as well as 3 wet berry bushes. The Caesar salad actually gives you tier 3 stamina regeneration and health regeneration, so it's one of the best foods in the game, so it's going to be really nice to have that recipe. But we get back to base, we create a couple planters for our new bushes that we had picked up, and we place the bushes in. After that, our potatoes were ready to harvest, so we grabbed the potatoes. And then we planted a bunch of wheat, just to get some more essence of life. And in order to upgrade our farmer's workbench one more tier, we now need sallow logs. And sallow logs are found in the tier 4 zone, which is like a volcanic lava zone. So on the way, we found an empty camp and grabbed some loot, and then headed over towards that tier 4 zone, which you can see in the distance. But on the way, under the ocean, I found some gold. I had been looking for gold for a while. You know, you can find it in the desert, you can find it in the snowy biome, but I had no luck, and you need it to craft the alchemy workbench, so I was really excited to find some gold and grabbed all of it that I possibly could. Once we finished grabbing the gold, we made our way over to the tier 4 zone and started climbing up the mountainside. And on the way up, we found this red ore. I believe this is adamentite, which is one after cobalt even. But unfortunately, I was not able to mine it with my iron pick, so we had to leave it be for now. Our main goal again was just to find those sallow logs. So I found this tree stump, and unfortunately it dropped burnt logs, not sallow logs, so this was not the correct tree. So had to keep looking, but figured we'd grab these while we're here. I then ran into this new wraith mob. First time I had seen a wraith. I was a little bit nervous being the tier 4 zone and only having iron gear, but luckily we were able to take it out. There's also lava pools everywhere, so I was worried I was going to bounce off of him and land in lava, so I kept checking behind me. But yeah, we were able to take him out without too much of a problem. He dropped red cinder cloth, which was a new fabric I hadn't seen yet. And then we found 2 more skeletons, and we took those guys out again. Not too much of a problem. I was a little bit worried about being in this tier 4 zone, but it was going pretty smoothly. Again, they dropped the cinder cloth as well as some essence of fire. And then I found a new tree type, so I figured I'd see what kind of log this was, hoping for the sallow logs. But unfortunately, they were just ash logs, not the right type of log that we need to upgrade our farmer's workbench. So we kept looking. And as we did so, we found a new skeleton variation, the Burnt Skeleton Lancer. Took him out and grabbed his cinder cloth. And then we found this skeleton horse, collected the memory from that, and found this new tree variant. I was really hoping this would be the sallow logs. So we chopped down a log, and sure enough, it is the sallow log, so that's perfect, exactly what we were looking for. So we finished chopping down the tree. It dropped a crap load of logs, which was perfect, because there was only one of these trees in this whole area, so thank God it was a big one. And then, not wanting to test our luck, being a little bit under-geared for this tier, we hop on a skeleton horse and immediately head back towards our pyramid. The sky looks really cool at nighttime. But yeah. The skeleton horse seemed a little bit faster. I don't know if that was placebo or not, but it definitely seemed to be going pretty quick. So we got back to base, popped it into our chicken coop. And now with the new sallow logs, we were able to upgrade all the way to tier 8. Now to upgrade from tier 8 to tier 9, we were going to need a bunch of different types of petals, blood petals, azure petals, as well as storm petals. 100 of each, so definitely was not looking forward to that. But in the meantime, our wild berries had grown, so we grabbed those. I was hoping the wet berry bush and the normal berry bush were going to drop different variations of berries, but they just both dropped wild berries, so I'm not sure why the wet berry bush was more expensive to buy, but it is what it is. And at that point, we planted a bunch of different types of seeds. Now, you know, we had every crop that we needed in terms of upgrading our farmer's workbench, so I just wanted to plant a bit of everything. And then we made some fishing traps. So I placed those down in the ocean not far from our home. And of course I placed some fishing bait inside of each one. And that's what it looks like from up on the cliffside there. And we give it some time for them to catch some fish. And then, yes, needing blood petals is one of the ingredients for the next workbench upgrade. What I did is I ran around at night, and you'll see the mushrooms that drop it, as well as the flowers that drop the petals. They glow at night, so all you have to do really is run around at night looking for a red glow. I found that they were most common in the swamp biomes. So I spent the whole night just chopping down these blood leaves and blood mushrooms. This one actually dropped a recipe where I was able to farm them. The only problem is, in order to use that recipe, you need a farmer's workbench of tier 10. So obviously I need the blood petals before I can farm the blood petals. A bit frustrating there, but what can you do? We took out this void crawler, grabbed its essence of the void, and then grabbed this storm leaf, or sorry, blood leaf. So back at base, you can see that whole night we only collected 35. So this was going to be a grind, so we're going to have to save the rest of the farmer's workbench upgrades for future episodes, but as you can see, we have every crop in the game available to us now. Look how awesome that farm looks with a bit of everything planted in there. Just so colorful, looks really good. And then yeah, we go and decide to check out what our fish traps have done overnight. and luckily they had all been filled up. So we got a bluegill fish, some salt blocks, a catfish, a fishbone harpoon, another bluegill fish, and a bunch more. So yeah, now with all that done, I was able to craft my first Caesar salad, which was awesome. As you can see, it has health regeneration 3 and stamina regeneration 3, which is going to be really useful in the future here. But that's going to be it for this episode, guys. Really appreciate you all being here and watching. Please leave your comments on what you'd like to see in the future below. Again, in the future, I think next episode, actually, what we're going to do is we're going to work on building some portals and a teleportation network so we can get to each biome a little bit quicker, as well as upgrading our gear. We need a little bit more thorium and a little bit more cobalt, although we did get some this episode, but yeah, I want to upgrade to at least cobalt next episode, so I think that's what we're going to do. But again, thank you so much. Leave a comment, leave a like, and we'll see you guys in the next one.